Did it.
This is how ukulele do, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Welcome
This is my favorite move.
to
The podcast.
show.
The podcast show. This week's podcast show.
I've been Madison playing the ukulele.
I can't ukulele at the moment because my partner is stuck inside of a virtual classroom. So,
An internet prison.
an internet prison. I must be quiet. But welcome back for another episode of this week's podcast, which this week will be brought to you by Sick Internet and more domestic terrorism.
This week's podcast is also brought to you by the McCloskeys and motherfucking racism.
I'm your host, Madison.
I'm your other host, Jesse James.
I feel like this is going to be a real nice episode.
I don't know. I feel like there's not a lot to say that hasn't been said, but that is definitely the news of the week.
Yup. Not a whole lot else going on other than racism news.
My hand, as of like a day ago, was finally healed from the bullshit I was doing at work. It's barely even discolored anymore.
That's a plus. I like it when my fingers aren't or barely discolored, miscolored.
Either way.
Words are hard.
Making up words is the sign of a great artist.
Then I am spectacular. I must be. I don't know. I feel like I don't think these two things are not related at all, but I'm going to blame it on this. Since like my face thing happened, I feel like I've gotten worse at talking, but I think it's mostly just not consistently having to talk to people as much.
Yeah.
So I'll blame it on the face thing, but it's probably more a pandemic thing. But
I do enjoy that sometimes when you smile, I can see just a tiny bit of like something I at least assume is like a leftover, but not quite.
I think there is some leftover. I notice it a little bit sometimes. And my face twitches a lot now, which is a
Nice.
fun plus, I guess.
I didn't have half of my face go slack, but I did have like a nerve pain through like my left side that like pulled on like my ribs and all kinds of stuff over the course of days. But at the tail end of it, it hurt just the hair follicles on the left side of my head. So like everything else was basically fine, but my jaw was sore from like clenching, and then my brushing my hair hurt, but everything else was fine, and that's always the best. It's happened a few times to me, but I always forget about it because it's such a weird sensation. But for people who have facial hair that is kind of coarse, it's not unlike when you have like, I don't know, you can fall asleep with your hair going the wrong way, and then you feel like a cat getting pet the opposite direction for a while, where it's like, oh, my face just kind of hurts because like my hair's been wrenched in a different direction.
That's so weird. I have never, that makes sense, but I've never thought of that as being a thing that you would have to deal with.
There's a reason why people like comb and stuff, and it's not just because a lot of people who comb their facial hair still look unkempt. It's more just like if stuff starts to like twist or do weird shit in there, it can be uncomfortable constantly. And then it's uncomfortable like here, which is not the best. Unless you're into that kind of shit and you're a weird pervert.
Well, no shame in that. Well,
yeah.
Depending on what kind, I guess.
So, I feel like we've already seen the drink that you're having. Is that your snack for the day?
This is one of the drinks.
Oh, nice.
They are now serving pumpkin spice lattes. So I did that.
Oh, you can't play music while I'm doing something, but just can you slurp audibly into your microphone while I get something?
I can do that. Oh, yeah. That sweet, sweet PSL syrup. I feel it in my molars.
Did you say DSL? I heard little whisperings out of here, and I was very confused.
I said PSL, but
that makes way more sense. It's like
I thought if I were saying another thing, this would be a different type of show. Although not dissimilar content.
Yeah, not probably. Really that different of a show. Speaking of pumpkin spice, so this is not a very big cookie. Each of these, I got it cheap in the manager's section, like I do. Mm-hmm. It's 12 of these, and it's finally the one thing that I've convinced my roommate, unofficial, let's say 17th member of the podcast, to eat slowly, because every one of these is 200 calories.
Oh, God.
And
is that why it looks like a cartoon cookie?
Yeah, and they're good. They're very pumpkin spice, and this is quite soft. It's basically like a very big, very soft pumpkin Oreo, and I'm into it. But you almost have to have coffee with it because it's so like powerful.
That sounds pretty intense. I would definitely want coffee with that. It looks like a small cake.
It tastes like a small cake.
Oh, well, that's good. This is my other snack.
Oh, is that tequila?
No, it's rosé, but.
Oh, I mean, I guess if you want to be less alcoholic about it.
If you do.
Mm-hmm.
Which I wouldn't actually mind if this was tequila, but I have a lot of rosé right now for some reason.
God, that's a lot of calories. You can taste it. This is not going to be our healthiest podcast. I'll tell you that right now, based on what I'm sitting in.
If you're here for health content, you should go immediately.
Yeah. No, most people are here to see how to get guns like this. From the guy whose hair hurts sometimes. Because I also have some bacon. It's turkey bacon.
Ooh. I myself made some turkey bacon for breakfast this morning. And that was pretty good. I haven't had turkey bacon in a while, so it felt like a treat.
Mm-hmm. Well, and because I did that first thing, I'm probably going to have to wait until further into the podcast to do the rest. But speaking of things that are potentially nauseating, how's your internet been? Is that something you
Oh
wanted to
yeah,
talk about?
it's real bad. So bad, in fact, that I would like to dedicate one of my topics to how bad it is. Um, I I've just been thinking about this a lot because everybody's doing online things now,
Uh-huh.
from the people who are working to people like Evan who are doing school on it, and it's really bad all the time, and it's
Yeah.
never good. And our internet was never good, but we actually decided this morning that we're actually going to uh pay for better internet because it's so terrible that like I can't game as good as I need to. So that's the
Fair, yeah.
priority. My League of
Um,
Legends is lagging and it's unacceptable.
I mean, if you can't be competitive, what's even the point?
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyway, I've just been thinking about that, and also the fact that like public school is online for a lot of kids,
Yeah.
and good internet is not a thing that we like provide as a country.
We don't provide
Um,
internet as a country. It's a
yeah,
non-utility entirely, and the fact that we're having public schools over the internet without the infrastructure of internet is
right.
pretty fucking criminal, honestly.
Some might go as far as to say human rights violation because the right
Yeah.
to education is one of those. So,
We also have the
um,
right to the primary forms of communication, and I would say that's internet as well. But they've been fighting that for that's like the net neutrality stuff was partially
mm,
because they could see that coming of like, oh, we can't have people decide that they deserve this. We need to charge for it. It's pretty
yeah,
stupid.
yeah. So I've just been thinking about that a lot because I know that I um, do fine. I do okay, and I can afford a next tier internet, but there's a lot of people who can't, and those people might have kids who are like, I don't know, just gonna like miss out on a year of school because their internet is shitty. But
Well, I think it's safe to say the people who can't afford internet are the people who most deserve school to try and pull themselves out of it.
yeah,
If we're
yeah,
really trying to run this country the way we say we are, that would
right.
be kind of the point.
Yeah, just, go to school, get good grades, and pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grab onto your shoelaces and lift yourself out of your hole.
Don't mind me while I take these gigantic scissors and cut your shoelaces off, but it's fine. Do that. Um, have you heard anything? I honestly have not done enough research into this to really form an opinion, although
Mhm.
I kind of generally have an opinion. Evan's talked to me a little bit about this. Have you heard about Elon Musk's like global internet thing? I feel like it's called
Oh
Earthlink.
shit. That's the thing where he wants to just like cover the Earth and satellites, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I have heard a little bit about that.
Do you have any thoughts?
My main thought is that that's a terrible idea. Um,
But
it also
why?
makes me question if he actually has a working knowledge of what anything is, because that sounds like the ideas of a man who has never had an original thought, which is essentially what Elon Musk is. Because there was like what an original inventor for Tesla. There's nothing about Elon Musk that actually has to do with space travel. He just likes the idea and hired people to make that happen.
Yeah.
He funds things that he thinks are interesting, but like none of that has to do with his knowledge. Like he's not an engineer or a scientist. He's like a fucking data person. So
Hmm.
yeah, even like PayPal, which is genuinely an intriguing idea, and it has helped with certain things and hurt with others. But that wasn't just him; that was him and like an engineer. Uh, I think it's a stupid idea. Yeah.
I would have to agree. Um, and like I said, I don't know that much about it, but I feel like the way that Evan has told me about it sounds like um he wants to move closer to that goal of internet being like a global utility,
Uh-huh.
which makes sense, I guess, but I don't really trust Elon Musk to
No,
spearhead that effort and not do it in a way that's not actually helpful.
I think it's incredibly easy to be creative when you have money instead of actually using your power to make the change that would be simple. Like, he could
Yeah.
make change in that direction simply by saying, hey, we're going to put money into supporting all of our workers, and we're also going to put money into pushing on the places where I live that give like giant power to people with money towards making internet a utility, because you could easily start pushing in the direction of like actually having net neutrality and actually having like internet as a utility if you had the sway of somebody like an Elon Musk. Also, the fact that people pay attention to him online, all he would have to do is start talking about it and putting some money behind it, and everyone would think he was a fucking saint. He wouldn't even have to
Yeah.
be a good person to do it. But instead, he wants people to see his stupid ass, like, 50s, like, let's just cover the world in satellites. Don't worry about the problem with like orbiting trash. That's not a thing that we're actually going to address. We just want these big satellites to constantly crash into each other and make like essentially brownouts a thing of every aspect of our life instead of just with power. We would like that for everything, please. It's a
Yeah.
terrible idea.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think it's
that's my thought.
yeah, I yeah, I agree. I think he was gonna start trying to test it in some areas like soonish, but yeah, I don't really trust him to do that
I'm sure
in a
he
way
will
that's
do,
actually helpful.
as long as he can skirt the licensing, which I'm also confident he can do. I have no doubt he's going to start testing that stuff, and people are going to think it's a great idea. But I'm not going to think it's a great idea. Also, people are still going to have to pay for that shit. Like, he talks about it like it's going to just
Oh yeah,
provide free internet, but
right. Yeah, that's
that's
mostly
not how
what.
that works.
Yeah, that's mostly where my reservations are. Is like it's still not an
Yeah.
actual solution, but also not super related. But I think this would be a fun time to bring up again the the anecdote of Grimes removing the phrase anti-imperialist from her Twitter bio when she started dating Elon Musk. So I have, and I just like to think about that sometimes. But
I didn't realize that, but that's like comically telling of all of that
yeah,
shit.
yeah, that was yeah. It's a
I
rough
mean,
time to be a Grimes fan, I think.
that does read as like some of the earlier stuff Kanye did that was just like, yeah, that's for attention, but at the same time, like, it's a little too on the nose to not be what it is.
Yeah.
Uh,
And at some point, things that you do for attention when you're a celebrity, regardless of whether or not there's a deeper or true meaning to them, you still did the thing, and
yeah.
that's all people know. So,
Well, and
especially in the case of Kanye West.
people who have to have public facing things to maintain their wealth, no matter who they are. Like, this goes for people you love and people you think are garbage. So, like, it could be a Grimes, or it could be like, I don't know, like a Jack Black, or somebody who is generally interesting, or it could be Donald Trump or Elon Musk. Everybody who's in that kind of position either doesn't stay there, or they have to be an actor of some kind. And
Mm-hmm.
acting is essentially requiring you to lie at least about some things because you're building a persona. So, like, I wouldn't just generally trust anybody on their face without actions on that kind of stuff. So I don't trust his internet shit, but I also don't trust Grimes to not be, like, doing that for a reason, because at best it's a knowing wink to everybody, and at worst it's her being like, well, I can't really have this on here because I'm I'm dating somebody who wants to be like a slave master of a certain breed. So, like, it's just uh not especially appealing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or surprising, but
Mm.
yeah. Anyway, but my original point stands. The internet sucks.
Yes. My internet has been just dropping out entirely, and uh, to the point, well, like, we have Comcast here. I assume you probably have something like that there, because it's basically got a stranglehold over the entire, like, what, 2/3 of the country or some shit?
Yeah, we actually have a weird situation here, and I'm sure they're owned by Comcast or somebody like that. But our apartment complex is like has a deal with a local ISP,
Okay,
um,
yeah.
which, fun fact, is also a computer store and is where my dad bought his very first laptop in like 1990 something.
See, now
So,
that sounds like the American dream to me.
oh yeah. Um, so we've really gone full circle, but the internet is very bad. I don't know who. I would imagine they're owned by like Comcast or something like that, but I
They
don't know.
probably aren't owned by Comcast, but I bet all of the lines they use are, which means,
Mm.
like most places, Comcast throttles that shit. We have alternatives to Comcast to keep it from being a monopoly in this area as well. But if you listen to their commercials and look at their ads, there's always things included in them that's like, if you download more than 30 gigs in a month, you will be throttled because of, like, business requirements. And a lot of that stuff is because
Yeah.
Comcast denies people using their lines as much as Comcast does, and charges extra the same way they would people using overages on data. So, like, all of the smaller companies that are trying to, like, exist essentially have to either go out of business because they aren't a giant corporate place like Comcast, or they have to just have these weird caps and hope that people want not Comcast enough to use them. But the whole
Mm.
reason why people hate Comcast who don't care about monopoly shit is largely because uh, they already don't have great internet, and they throttle everybody who isn't paying a shit ton of money. So, like, you're not going to get better internet from anywhere else, and you're also going to have to go through a bunch of garbage just to get it. It's a pretty effective way of lying your way into keeping a monopoly, but that seems like par for the USA.
Yeah. Unfortunate
Yeah.
for everybody.
That
But
unfortunate should be on our flag, I feel like.
I think that would be better. Yeah.
And what, we have like five, I think it's five, like, territories of different types that are technically things that should be states. So we could just put unfortunate and then throw some like ghost stars down in the corners just in case you wanted to know about that too.
Yeah, I think the flag's due for a redesign.
I mean, at this state, I wouldn't want it redesigned because I feel like it's going to have maybe some iconography from the 40s that I wouldn't agree with. But
What do
maybe
you
down
mean?
the road, we could maybe redesign it to have a slightly more inclusive set of things. And maybe we could get, say, DC to be a state and some other territories to have rights and be a state and shit like that. Instead of leaving them without power for years and just acting like nobody died because of it.
No, there's
Hey,
an idea.
that would be something that you could do if you had morals, I
If you
guess.
cared about people at all.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound very patriotic to me.
Yeah. I'm not very patriotic, as I'm finding. More and more.
Yeah.
I think this is a perfect time to tell people to vote against Donald Trump.
Please. Yep.
Please vote against Donald Trump. That's all.
I like how you were phrasing that.
Yeah. I think it's the only way to phrase it, honestly.
Honestly.
I had a conversation with somebody I consider relatively centrist about how people who follow centrism as like their democratic idea are now at this point just conservative. Like there is no like left-leaning party anymore. So like it's left of the weird neo-Nazi Republican Party, but it's not left of anything in terms of the rest. Unless you think not killing gay people is left-leaning, that seems like maybe an extension of wanting it very badly to be like liberal, but
yeah.
So I think the only thing to do is vote against Donald Trump, and then we can deal with the rest of the mistakes that come after that. But we're a lot less likely to, be in camps or, let's say, change the flag in some bad ways.
Yeah. The options are bleak, but there's definitely a more bleak option. So
that was the finger of you making a point. Ooh.
This is the point finger. Ooh.
It's bleak.
It sucks, but there's definitely a more right answer. Or maybe a less wrong answer.
Yeah, I think that's more the idea.
Yeah.
But if we keep making less wrong answers happen, we can get to a point where, like, the leniency could be there to establish an actual third party that is left-leaning, or we could be in a spot where, I don't know, everything just breaks down entirely. And that's probably not that bad a thing. Like, if you consider how I've had people now from Korea, Australia, and Japan put up messages about voting in our election as being super important because of how it's going to fuck everyone if we don't. That seems substantial to me. I feel like flag-waving assholes are the first to jump at that stuff with, like, they don't even live here. What do they know? They're not as good as the rest of us here in the United States, which I think in their head is half the planet. It's like just the globe is bisected, ocean and some garbage and the United States, instead of it being able to just kind of slide into the middle of Africa in terms of size. It's very frustrating the way people react to real concerns about like we should be better to our workers gets translated into labor practices across the entire planet are destroyed by our country. And like if we had to restructure a bit and just didn't have a lot of money, if we had a regular amount of money, that would probably be fantastic, honestly. Like, and I've been saying that since I was pretty young, uh, but especially starting in like the late 90s and early thousands when we had like the 9/11 attacks, and I was old enough to kind of see like that's probably our fault too, right? um I didn't come to the conclusion that we have to protect ourselves. I came to the conclusion that we need to have less money and stop being assholes to everyone on the planet if we want to stay solvent. Because, like, we have separation of oceans. We're in such a safe place already. The fact that people went through the effort of sending people here, living here, learning how to do stuff, like, sort of subpar, but like people had to be committed to the idea of dying for the cause of just slightly fucking us over for years just to
Yeah.
do that one thing. And there's a part of that that's like nobody's that crazy. There's clearly a reason, and we should listen to that reason even if we don't agree with it. But instead, we just sort of turned into even worse. But it's okay because that president paints cats sometimes. Anyway,
Yeah,
none of
he's nice and old now, so
yeah, he's
it's fine.
so nice. He and
He's an
that very
adorable old
nice
man.
Ellen, they're both very nice, and they hang out. Uh, God,
uh, I mean, actually, now the Ellen is kind of being uh quote unquote exposed, I guess. It's
sure.
starting to make more sense. I mean, I feel like everybody's kind of known that for a
Yeah,
while about her, but
I
um
think it really did start in earnest when COVID kicked up, and she had already said stuff positively about George Bush, and then as COVID started up and she was in her what is essentially like a palace in like looks like the desert, um and had that video of her saying it's like I'm in prison now. It's like okay. Like her house
yeah.
looks like the size of the town I live in, and that seems maybe a little incongruous with being in prison.
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit, um, considering we have actual, like people in prison who are, being going and fighting fires,
No, no, no,
and
that's
then
fine
not
though.
able to get a job as a firefighter after the fact.
That's fine though
But
because they
well,
sold weed.
they're criminals, so they
Also,
deserve it.
so one of your topics is fucking Rittenhouse, right?
Yeah, it
What
is.
did you want to say about Rittenhouse? Because I feel like this is going to be a conversation about a real asshole.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what I I don't have anything good to say about it.
Yeah,
Him, just like fuck that guy, and uh, his parents, who must be real pieces of shit too, because they enabled him all along the way. Uh,
yeah. Like
I
he
mean,
legally would not be able to do that stuff without his parents' consent.
his uh, I've heard this, so if I'm wrong, I fact check me or whatever, I guess. But I've heard from like podcasts and stuff that his mom drove him across state lines to be there, or that she was there, and she was kind of like not escorting him, but she was there with him. Um, and even if she
Cool.
wasn't, like I can't imagine being those parents and thinking you know, this is gonna go well. Like my 17-year-old, who, I honestly I don't know the legality of all the firearm stuff, and that was illegal. I'm sure him having that, wasn't he 17?
So he's 17, and also the state that he's from, you have to be 21 before you can have a carry license.
Right.
And the only way you can mitigate that is if your parents waive it for you. So his
So another
parents,
level.
yeah, his parents had to make that possible in addition to bringing him there. Like, they basically set their kid up to either go to prison or be dead, but I guess some part of their thought process on how important it is to threaten people who don't like the police is meant that sacrificing their kid to whatever happened was worth it, which doesn't seem very moral to me.
Nope. I mean, even if you're thinking of it completely selfishly, not thinking about the fact that your 17-year-old son with uh, a rifle, whatever he had, I'm not good at guns. Even if you're not considering the other people, he's still like a child. Basically, he could very well hurt himself.
Yeah.
And like, did you see the clip of the shit that Tucker Carlson was saying about this?
I think so, but it was just a small clip. The one where he's saying it's inevitable.
Yeah, he said, or he framed it in a way that was like, well, when no one quells this violence in these riots, what do we expect? Like, of course the 17-year-olds with guns are going to go out and try, and this is the phrase that he used multiple times. He said, of course they are going to go out to maintain order, is
Right.
what he referred to what that kid did as. He kept saying over and over that kid was, his goal was to maintain order. And
Well, I think they're including
it,
that in the argument that he wanted to be a police officer as like
right.
proof, and that doesn't seem like it has any bearing on maintaining order. That seems like he wanted a reason to have a gun and use it, which he did.
Yeah.
So, like, I absolutely he idolized police officers. He did exactly what they did.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't know when people are going to um engage with the reality of kids who are wanting to be police officers and aspiring to that, and people who are police officers. If you see, like, especially in a lot of videos now where you hear their conversations and like how they're actually approaching these
Uh,
situations, they're just fucking like larping Call of Duty. That's
yeah,
what they all think they're doing.
I think it's
It hasn't.
important to
Yeah.
distinguish that like in the Call of Duty way specifically, um, instead of just doing what normal dorks do, playing something like that and getting it out of their system, these people decided that wasn't enough. And so they're needing to live that life because I guess that's how you be cool. That's how you be like a real strong guy. Like, you want to talk about systemic problems. People wanting to enforce laws through violence is not somebody's like individual decision. That is how we act in
Right.
this country.
Yeah. I um yeah, I mean, our entire country is so completely desensitized to the just violence in general, obviously. And like, I don't want to say, when I say that he's LARPing Call of Duty, I don't want it to be construed as like, oh no, violent video games are causing this. Like, of course
Yeah,
it's
I
not
mean
video
that is
games, but
the right wing like we've seen people get agitated when they play video games, so that's actually what's doing it, like that shit.
so that's what it is. Yeah, like, no, our country completely has really mentally removed from any sort of empathetic idea of like valuing life. I like with the whole uh what did they call it? Like a bunch of people went out to Portland, I guess, this week and
Yeah.
made like a car line or whatever. What is that actually called? It's not called a
Oh,
car line.
so like
Truck line? Car...
it's not a blockade. It's a I know what you mean. I'm frustrated that I can't think
I
of the
don't know. I
actual
can't
name.
think of the word. Anyway,
Anyway,
they all
yes, they made a line of cars.
they drove their cars in a line is what I'm trying to say, with the intent of intimidating protesters.
Right.
And then that's the only reasoning behind that. And this is like not a new thing for far right wing people to do. They've been doing it.
Yeah.
Um, like in Charleston, the guy literally killed Heather Heyer with his car, and
They
the same
killed
thing.
in Seattle with their car as well.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that too. And even I like a few episodes ago, and I was talking about that video in Coeur d'Alene of that guy in his truck, basically like trying to run over protesters. I don't know if there was any consequence for that, but all of the comments on that video were like, they deserve it. Like,
Yep.
this is what you get for being in the road and, blocking the highway. And it's just so disheartening and disgusting to see that people think that way and don't put any value on on the life of people. It's just like, oh, you're inconveniencing me for
Hmm.
2 minutes. I guess you deserve to die. Like,
I was uh, I was talking with somebody from the area that I went to college in, and they made a comment about how if somebody comes to destroy property or attack them in their homes, they're going to, or no, it was if somebody comes here to attack me or burn a target, they're going to become a target. So I asked, like, are you saying that like burning a target and attacking you physically are equivalent? Uh, and their response was, well, if I get attacked in a target, I'm going to defend myself, which is like, sure, of course. If you're attacked personally, you can defend yourself. That's true. uh, and then their response was, if somebody is attacking me, I have to defend my life. And if somebody's attacking my things, that could ruin the life that I've made. Which is that thing of like, okay, but you just swerved on the whole thing again. You're saying violence is fine as long as they're affecting something that's attached to your life somewhere. It's that whole thing of like discomfort equals I should be able to murder for this.
yeah,
And I don't know when everybody jumped on to that mentality being okay, but that's really the shift that I've seen is people being told by our government that that's fine. And that is like the thing we need to vote against Trump for, because that shit can't keep being said
hmm
and enforced, because that's what's actually going to lead to like problems you see in other places that oftentimes we've fucked up, or large countries have fucked up, places China and Russia have fucked with, where all of a sudden there's people out there just making what they want to have happen, even if their reasoning for it is that they just are made uncomfortable by gay people or whatever the fuck. Like, we can't have
yeah,
that shit here and have it approved by the president unless we want to have to like either leave or deal with it like here. And I think we need to deal with it here before it becomes that.
and I mean that they've gone uh pretty fucking like mask off on that. Like they're really
Yeah.
not. Have you seen any of the um RNC speeches or any of that bullshit?
I saw enough of it. Yeah.
They actually have that. gun couple from, I don't remember where they were from.
That's the McCloskeys. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was one of my topics. Putting them in
Yep.
the fucking RNC.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh,
crazy.
that's like a party of just the worst fucking people in America, and like everyone who's been just a complete meme because they're so transparently evil, and then that's like the poster children of the RNC.
Yeah,
It's like they're not pretending.
we wanted to round out the RNC by bringing in the bad guys from an 80s movie that you haven't watched
Yeah.
yet.
Like, hey, remember the people who trended on Twitter for like a couple of days as like obviously in the wrong and just out of their minds
Yeah.
and also charged
Remember
with felonies? Those are
remember
our
that
people.
lady who held a gun like this with her finger on the trigger just at people with cameras and stuff? Yeah, it's fucking insane.
Yep.
But somebody might have, like, I don't know, spit on their yard or something, so they had to be ready to fire. That's important. You have to brandish your weapon at somebody. I don't know. It's also that whole mask off of people being like, the reason why we love guns and the reason why we love the NRA is because they teach us safety and they make it clear that we're
Uh-huh.
responsible. And it's like, you can't brandish a weapon at somebody. Like, that's rule number one in the NRA. You never hold a gun like that unless you're going to kill people. And the idea of that being fine, that that too though is the RNC clearly shows that the president and that whole party are okay with saying that killing people who are protesting is fine. Like,
Mm-hmm.
by endorsing people who brandish their weapons at random ass people that they were afraid of, now we're saying that it's fine to have intent to kill on people you disagree with. Like,
Yeah.
there is no
And
more masked off than that in terms of
no.
like violence.
I mean it's so transparent. One of the things that she said, or one of them said during their like little speech or whatever, is she specifically uh, said that like it's part of the Democrats' plan to replace the single family uh, land like land that's allotted for single family use or
Right,
whatever
yeah.
with like low income apartments. She specifically said that to be like, they're gonna let the poor people and like the brown people move in closer to you. Like that was just so
Did
like
you hear?
not even
If you
pretending.
let Biden win, he's going to desegregate our schools.
Yeah.
Sure, he was in favor of segregation in his fucking politics, but the thing you have to be afraid of is that actually now he isn't, and he wants to segregate nothing. That's really the measure of Joe Biden. Radical Democrat.
Radical leftist Joe Biden.
Fuck.
I wish he was a fraction of the radical leftist that they like to say that he is. That would be
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, if he got into office and surprised everybody by being, one, way more cogent, and two, actually in favor of anything, that would be fantastic. But that isn't
That
going to happen. Uh,
yeah.
he would have to be an entirely different person and not a fucking. I mean, to be fair, Kamala and Biden are the perfect representation of the Democratic Party. They are
Yeah.
Republicans from 30 years ago. So, like, yeah, perfect. Uh, is what the Democrats believe. That's why we need to take the people who want any change whatsoever and hopefully mash them into a new party, because we can't vote for Democrats going forward. Like, it's just not going to be viable. Unless all the olds die, I guess, but I don't think that's going to happen either. If they were going to, we just are in the middle of a pandemic, that would already be happening. Like, if that shift were going to happen early, we'd be there, but it's not going to.
Yeah. I feel like we've all been saying that for a few years, just
Yeah.
like once the old people are gone, things will be different, but no,
The
I don't think
only
that's
silver lining is that we all die.
Yeah, I am hoping that is actually one plus, I guess, of the Democratic Party doing something so totally not surprising and putting forth Biden and Harris is like their people. Like you're right, that's totally representative of them. So I guess one plus of that happening would maybe be that like younger people see that and are like, well, that's not at all
Wait, did
what.
they just put a cop and a Republican in as the presidential team? That seems weird.
Yeah,
Maybe I
I
want a social worker. Maybe I want somebody who is sensible instead of these assholes. Like, that is also my hope. Because nobody
yeah,
who is, not lead poisoned from the fucking 80s is going to look at them and be like, nice.
yep. I I hope that uh, the TikTok teens will say this.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to save us, but they're going to spread awareness at least uh,
Our
to
only hope is the fan cams.
their peers. Oh, I guess actually it's uh, generally app related, but did you read about the OnlyFans stuff? The
With Bella Thorne.
Yeah, also I didn't know that Bella Thorne was an ex-Disney person, which makes it way grosser.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty gross. I'm
but
generally
that
disappointed in humanity for that many people being interested in Bella Thorne's nudes. I mean, like, not
what's
even
it?
thinking about the Disney
Okay.
part, but I just don't.
How old is Bella Thorne? Like, I know Disney people can be like 50. It's just the idea of Disney person makes me uncomfortable in the first place. I don't know what this person looks like, so I'm gonna look it up so I can properly judge these assholes.
Yeah, she is fine, I guess. She was on Disney Channel like in her teens, so she's well in her 20s, I think now. I think that was a while ago, the last time she was on anything Disney. I think Disney probably wants nothing to do with her at this point.
Yeah, it's hard to say because Disney is also real strange. Um, God, all the headlines on this are real fucking one-sided. That's for sure. People sure hate sex workers. Um,
Uh-huh.
I would say that she is. Uh, if you wanted somebody to play Karen in a movie, but not be too old, I guess that's sort of her look. She looks like a stock standard white person. Anyway, so very
Yeah, well,
disappointed, I would say. Um,
yeah.
the issue, because I think a lot of people hear something that has to do with like sex workers and they immediately turn off because like they just don't give a shit. But there was a 75% increase in people making model accounts on OnlyFans during the start of the pandemic, specifically to like make rent and be able to live. Uh, one of the uh, one of the points of OnlyFans is that instead of having a structure where you have an overarching like media company of some kind, usually like a sleazy-ish like a Pornhub style place where like sure you can make videos, but you're just gonna get basically like YouTube revenue off of this like I like some people it's not a big deal for, but like I like to think of it in terms of myself. If I were making super explicit content and I had to outdo other people just to have like any revenue from it, that sucks. Like most of the
Mm-hmm.
way porn works as an industry, as in its non-regulated form, sucks. Like it's exploitative. The point of something like OnlyFans is that OnlyFans uses an art gallery style of payment. So like you get paid as soon as somebody buys something on OnlyFans, but also you're selling content that is explicit sometimes, sometimes not. Like uh, Thorn going on there and selling content isn't the problem. The problem is that like whether you want to infer that all sex workers do like porn, it's not really true. Like there's tons of models, there's tons of like different styles of like you're selling your image for a certain amount of money. So unless you're like very religious, that shouldn't be an issue. But that's not really how people think of it. Uh, but a big part of how you make money on a site like that is you make enough on each thing that the 20% that they take just off the top for the OnlyFans as a company is
Mm-hmm.
then uh, taken off immediately, and then you're taxed on the rest of it. It's handled like any other job. So like you're selling images, you're creating content, same way I would create content for people that's painted or drawn or whatever. Same way a photographer would sell their work through like a more open, like gallery forward kind of website. Having somebody come in and make $1 million in a day isn't the issue. Like that could only be good for a place like OnlyFans. The issue is that she sold something that wasn't a real product.
Mm-hmm.
She was promising people for a large sum of money uh, nudes. They purchased it. They weren't nude. They were just like glamour shots. And then
Yeah.
OnlyFans, as the overarching company, who is, you know, they have like the same problems that most tech companies have. They don't really talk about the money they make. They're kind of like in it for how much money can we make. We're gonna not be super fair to people, but like that's tech. Like that is why we want to have regulations in the first place. Her coming in, selling a bunch of stuff, and then having a majority of people send it back and demand refunds that have to be covered by OnlyFans spurred them uh, changing the way that they handle their policies to $50 is the maximum amount you can charge for paid content, and $100 is the maximum you can tip, which sounds like a lot of money, especially if you have like, I don't know, 500 to 1,000 like followers. The problem is, much like art, every single bit of that content that you make, it could be a picture of your fucking feet. Like it could be anything. It depends on the person how much they can charge for each individual thing. It depends on their followers how much they can tip, and it depends on your availability to do the work you do and the business model that you've set out, what and how often you can actually make content. So a lot of these
Mm-hmm.
people have gone from like maybe you make a big something, like a big piece of like very explicit content for like one or two high roller people who want to pay you like $600 for something you do, then you can make that individual content for them in the past. It gets cut down to like, I don't know, probably 450 or so. And then you have the ability to work your normal part time job, work on your OnlyFans account, and make what you're making. People who are in the most need of getting money from that content are the people who are going to be fucked over by having a maximum charge of $50. And then tipping, you can't enforce tipping. Tipping is whoever feels like it. So unless people feel like sorry for you or there's some weird like impetus to tip, I will say as a person who has worked customer service and art, tipping is not something that people are like, yes, I would love to tip. Like that's not going to make you a ton of money. So keeping that at 100 is like not great. And even talking to people who are very sex positive, who look at things like OnlyFans and think that it's like fine, there's still an initial feeling that like, yeah, but some people don't make the kind of content I think is worth that much money. And that's not the point. Like, I make paintings that take me, on average, like maybe 10 hours. But other people make paintings that take them 80, and some people will pay more for mine or way more for theirs. That's not up to the artist. That is up to the people who want stuff like that. So, like, my example when I was talking to Nick about this yesterday is like, what if there is a like person who has a larger build and they do like portraits and they do like maybe they do like explicit stuff but only with certain parts of their body or something. Like, I don't know. There's lots of ways you can make money. Is there a kind of like highly explicit or specific video that you would only accept what with tax and the money they take off like $35 for? Like, at some point you're going to be giving away stuff at a price that is devaluing you as a human being considerably, where
Yeah.
like people who are just doing glamour shots or whatever are going to benefit because some of that stuff they can sell plenty of, and now they can't do more than $50. And I'm sure that like they have monthly subscriptions that can pile up for certain people, but that stuff's still taxed and it still takes the gallery pricing off of it. I don't know. I think it's an issue that people need to pay attention to, because OnlyFans, when it comes to sex work and beauty work to a degree, like just image work in general, that as a model actually took a lot of freedom back for people who do that kind of work and gave them a safe working environment, control over their situation, and the ability to like step back on products if they want. Like, if you're somebody who has an issue with porn, even though I think that's incredibly hypocritical of most people, that kind of work, uh, I don't know, it's going to be there. So like making it hard for those people to live is going to force them to do more and more things to try and make it work, or they're going to be in like an Amazon warehouse fucking themselves up for the rest of their lives. And most of the people that I know personally who do OnlyFans work, that's their second job and it helps them make rent right now, but that's it. Like, most people aren't going to have 1,000 followers. They're not going to have the chance to default on $1 million worth of content they didn't make. Like, it's very frustrating. But I don't know. I hope that they revert that stuff, because I imagine that's just going to ruin a lot of people's income at a time when that can't happen for them. The other thing that they are doing is, you used to get paid when you would sell stuff. Now you get paid at the end of the month. So it is a 2 paycheck period before you get paid.
Wow.
Which means people who were counting on that for rent next month aren't going to make that anymore. So, like, great job being already wealthy and a Disney person. You probably just made a fair amount of people homeless or something along those lines by being an asshole. And the fact that people are making a big deal like, well, she apologized. It's like, fuck off. But also that company, it's another sign that companies will not save you. They don't take the responsibility. If somebody comes in and abuses what they set up, they don't take the money hit. They pass on shittiness to the people who give them money. And that's also just how it's going to work. Like, you can't deregulate stuff, and you can't sit and have like all these mini techno empires and expect them to like care about people. Anyway, that's a rant I didn't expect to go on today, but I think it's important that people consider sex workers people. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think that is a pretty important thing that people consider it. But I mean, the fact that it was Bella Thorne, just a person like you said, who already is so rich, who just kind of like on a lark decides I'm gonna do this thing, and fucks up a bunch of people's livelihoods just because she got bored.
Yep.
Incredibly shitty. And I like the only people who have the power to do that with no consequences are people like her
Yep.
who just don't have a care because they're wealthy and
They already have immense privilege, so things like that don't touch them. They'll never have to worry about it.
right. Yeah, so like I don't give a fuck if she apologizes. The only and like this would make things marginally better. The only thing she could really do is give back money to the
Yeah.
people that she has stolen from, essentially.
Yeah.
Um, because yeah, like you said, tech companies like OnlyFans are not, as much as often they will frame their communities as like a community and we're like in this together and we're gonna like look out for you. Like, no,
Yeah.
that's never been the case. Ask anyone who is like old guard of YouTube, I guess. Like
Yeah.
YouTube fucks people over all the time. Um, yeah, like these people, as much as they will try and frame it as like, we're on your side. If for like content creators or whatever, that's not a thing. They're
Yeah.
just looking out for the bottom line. And
It's
yeah.
also frustrating because if let's say Ruffalo started an OnlyFans, he could say, "All right, for $5, I'm gonna charge a subscription cost of 10 cents, and for $5 for anybody who wants it, you can order a photo shoot I'm gonna do of me shirtless." He would probably make enough money off of something like that for both him and OnlyFans to only benefit people. Like he could probably make a fuck ton of money doing just some shirtless pics because people will see that and go like, "Oh, great." And then he walks away with like $10,000 and OnlyFans walks away with like $1,000. Or sorry, $2,000 or whatever.
Right.
Uh, that's just a benefit. Like you don't have to fuck people over, but you can't get onto something, lie about what you're doing, and then use your clout as a very boring ex-Disney person to like screw over an entire set of people who are trying to make their fucking life work.
And like this is beside the point, but her nudes are already on the internet. So
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, in the world of deep fakes, everybody's nudes are on the internet. It's not like you, honestly, like porn actors and porn actresses have a better body than you do anyway. The people who are actors very rarely look amazing naked. They just are good-looking people. Like there's a difference. And people who spend their entire lives, well, they spend their entire uh usually early business lives being nude on a camera. They know what to do with all of that. And deepfakes are people taking scenes that they've done and splicing other people onto them. And I guarantee you 99% of those are going to be more what your fantasy is than seeing those people nude in the first place.
well, unless your fantasy is seeing someone you knew as a Disney Channel star, which I feel like
Yeah.
unfortunately for a lot of people was the draw, but um then you have some other issues probably to sort out. I mean, I whatever. Whatever.
Unfortunately, I think that there are a lot of people who have issues like that, which is a bummer. I think about that every time I watch The Professional. Did you ever see that?
Mm-mm.
It's like a movie from God, probably like the early '90s. I think I saw it in like the late '90s, early thousands, and um, it stars Jean Reno, who I think is awesome, but it also stars Natalie Portman as like a 12-year-old, and
Mm.
I honestly think that that movie uh, has a weird impact on how popular Natalie Portman got, because a lot of people saw her as a kid being like sort of like pseudo glam in a movie and then got attached to that idea, because I think
Yeah.
people are actually a lot worse than you think they are in a lot of cases. And
I
it
mean, like toddlers and tiaras exist, so yeah, I
yeah.
think people are generally bad.
And that same shit happened with Ellen Page. She played like a 14 or 15-year-old in a movie literally about a pedophile and her like being bait to get revenge on him. And like both of those
Mm.
movies, that's where their careers picked up. And I think that it's probably people being gross in a certain percentage that make those people like successful, and it sucks. It especially sucks
Yeah.
because Ellen Page being gay means that she got to just be accosted by people 24/7 for the worst version of all of that shit, I'm sure. And then she came out, I think, after David Cage, that fucking pervert asshole auteur video game maker, needlessly modeled her entire nude body in a game that she mocapped for in a shower, even though that's not a scene in the game. Uh, so
Oh.
he sort of, I would say, breached a pretty significant artistic agreement when people found out about that shit. But he's still making games because nobody cares if it's women's bodies and famous people. I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole list of rants for some other time, I think.
Yep.
I think we should be pro sex worker, and I think we should be anti sexualizing children. That's my bottom line. And if you're concerned about the way porn is, maybe start teaching your kids or encouraging your kids to appreciate people who are of age instead of being fine with a lot of like weird, like glammed up bullshit like toddlers and tiaras, and just expecting our entire it's expecting that weird version of exceptionalism of like, well, no, people are moral and Christian in this country, they won't like kids. Uh-huh, sure. Yeah, that's worked out really well, hasn't it? God damn it.
Oh. Mm.
Anyway, I don't think we went all the way through our Rittenhouse conversation.
Probably not. I feel like I just don't really know what all to say about it.
This might be our most off like topic podcast
Tangent
so far.
podcast in a while. I think that's fine. I think we've been due
Yeah.
for a tangent podcast.
Last week was our tired podcast, and this is our hungover podcast for all the fucking dumb shit.
Yeah. I don't know. He killed 2 people, right? 2
Yeah.
people and then wounded a third.
He uh he wounded a third who lost his arm, I believe.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, prior to the shooting, which I don't know if footage exists, but I haven't seen it and I wouldn't watch it anyway. But
Yeah.
I did see videos of him like prior to it, like talking to the cops and them like giving him water. And there's actually a video where cops are giving him water and in their like armored vehicle or whatever, and they're shouting out at the people with Kyle, like, "Oh, we appreciate you,"
Right.
which is like people like Kyle or Rittenhouse, whatever, are not going to be. Well, I guess he has actually been held accountable. Like he's getting charged with um, first degree murder. I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember.
Honestly, like
Doesn't matter.
I kind of don't care that much.
Yeah,
Like,
he's getting
as
charged, is all I
as
know.
long as he's getting charged or put through the system, like that's important. But at the same time, like the reaction from people is kind of the important thing at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I guess where I was going with that is that I was gonna say people like him are gonna keep showing up because they're propped up and supported by the police.
Yeah,
Like right prior, like I was saying, prior to the shooting, the police were glad that he was there and they were like inviting those people into the situation and actively making them comfortable there. And
yeah,
as long as that keeps happening, because they're not like different people, these are the same people. The only difference is like one of them has an armored car and a badge, I
hmm
guess. But uh,
uh, there have been several cases There have been several videos of or audio of cops talking about how they're glad they're there, but they're also glad because they can wait while they're there and leave it to them, which has
yeah,
been a pretty like repeated feeling from the cops lately is that, well, if the militia people are here, then like we'll leave it to them, and also inferring like we can't beat people up, but you can because you're not cops. And that's been uh, incredibly frustrating. The other side of that, I guess, is that it kind of goes both ways. Like I've heard some people on the protester side saying like there is violence that erupts pretty hard with that stuff because protecting yourself isn't a crime, and even resisting police is. So when
mm-hmm.
people who are showing up with like these militia groups start fucking with people, you can hit them. Like you can be shitty back, and legally that's supposed to be okay if they're threatening you. Um, and that seems like a dangerous place to be in because the fact that the police are always against the left is a big part of why the left is always sort of envisioned as this like uh I don't know, like weak group of people, I guess. That and the fact that they typically are not espousing ideas that are dominating other people like the right
Mm-hmm.
usually does. Putting it in a position where the left is going to be freer to act like just people and not like people who are trying to not be oppressed, that worries me because it's going to allow people to paint them as like aggressors much easier, even if that's not the fucking case. Like, there was like 3 days ago a set of like a quadrant of brutality against police pictures that went around. And it was like four police that were all like bloodied up. Like one of them was unconscious in like a hospital bed. All of those pictures were from like a decade of time in Australia. None of them were American police. But it doesn't matter because people can just
Yeah.
take pictures from wherever. Australian people look like Americans. Just put them up there. Make it look like police are getting brutalized, and like people have found every one of those pictures. It's not like the internet doesn't exist. They just fucking look up the fucking image, and they're all from like 2006. But
Mm-hmm.
like that kind of shit is being spread to try and enforce this idea that the protesters are hurting people or trying to kill them. Same with the fucking RNC. They said like I think 30 something people have been killed by the protests. They don't mention how or why or that a lot of those people have nothing to do with the protests. They just like to say that the protesters are killing people, which is genuinely pretty fucking untrue. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have people being actively murdered who are protesting on film, and they act like, well, that was justified, though. Like, uh, several people, including Alex Jones, which when there's crossover between Republicans and Alex Jones, it's always a bad thing. That's how we got Trump. Uh, he was saying, not as a like story, but just saying that it's good that like the ability to just uh, like it's good that we've been given permission to start hurting these people. Like the RNC and the way that people have been talking about these murders and the way the people have like responded to Kenosha on the right wing, people are taking that as permission, which it implicitly kind
Yeah.
of is, to do whatever they want to the left. And in addition to that, like Alex Jones has been saying forever, people were trying to make like a link between Alex Jones and the Rittenhouse, which maybe Knowledge Fight looked at that issue and said, like, again, like maybe, but who knows? Like, there's so many people that he's emulating that it really doesn't matter. And the uh, the big issue really is the way that we're talking about everything, the way the media is covering it, the way all of that stuff works. It is actively giving permission to shooters to just know that they can do that. And Alex Jones saying like, well, we shouldn't kill protesters, while saying we should make kill lists of protesters, which is something he actively has said several times in the last like few months. Saying that we should go after big targets is how he's deflecting from that, which in any sane version of the history of America would be a threat against politicians and all of the people that are worried about like the left wing, is
Yeah,
him
like an
saying like, no,
assassination
go
plot,
after
sort of.
big targets, kill them. Yeah, exactly though.
Yeah.
That is conspiring to assassinate, or at least the start of it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. It's it's really complicated and it is all shitty. But it's also one of those things where like I'm glad that it's getting harder and harder and harder for people to look at this and say that there isn't an issue, it's all in your head, which is essentially what the last what 4 years have been. So I don't know. It's not good, but it is more clear, which is probably useful in its own stupid way. There's also the video of Rittenhouse front row at a Trump rally, uh, and
Mm-hmm.
there's the video of Rittenhouse uh, beating up girls at either his school or a park because they were mean to him. Uh, those are both on video, and the people who are trying to defend his character seem to not be referencing any of that stuff. It's just him shaking hands with cops, which I don't think that should be a indicator of good character.
I
Um,
mean, it's in line with what we know about cops. Sounds like
yeah,
he's on the the right track
yeah.
to be a pretty normal cop. So, um,
He also, as a last note to that, the chief of police in Kenosha lightly, not lightly, he pretty directly inferred that the violence was what the protesters had coming afterwards. And then the sheriff of that area 2 years ago had a straight up like uh, ethnic cleansing speech that he did. That was he said he was referencing like violent individuals. He was saying like uh, people get upset about them getting shot, but the real answer is that we need to get them off the streets. And then he goes from there saying we need to just stop giving them chances, stop acting like they're people, and put them away. and we need to just know, we need to put them all in a building. We need to keep them separate from society, and we need to not give them conjugal visits, not let them have children. We need to nip this in the bud, essentially. And he just went on a few minute screed of like legitimate just ethnic cleansing shit 2 years ago. The sheriff there, and he's also standing next to the chief of police when he said that it was the protesters' fault that people got killed. So like, and that same sheriff also was one of the popular pictures of kneeling with protesters. The ethnic cleansing guy. So that shit,
That's
like, if you want a nice link of go fuck yourself, like,
yeah.
yeah, all that
Wow.
kneeling shit is garbage anyway, but that's the clearest it's ever been. Somebody saying we need to take individuals and separate them from society and keep them from having kids, which is like basically just saying the imagined white genocide, we should do that to them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
I like it's so frustrating that the right and Republicans are it's just totally acceptable that they're propping up these people who are total mask off like white supremacists,
Yeah.
total racist, no like not mincing words, not parsing words, like they're just the worst of the worst, and the Republicans are like, this is who's speaking at our convention, and like they just I don't know. It's incredibly frustrating that they're allowed to prop up the most extreme people in their party,
Yeah.
and Democrats can't even I don't know. I mean, but of course
Yeah.
they're going to be labeled as like communists and socialists forever even though they're like nowhere close, but
Yeah. Well, and nobody
frustrating.
knows what communism and socialism are on the right or centrists. Centrists fucking hate them. That's like part of what makes centrists who they are is we'll never be that. Better red or better dead than red. Like that shit is fucking ridiculous. The idea of taking the scare tactics of our shitty corporatocracy garbage and applying it to what socialism is, which is just like equality. Like that is all socialism preaches. If you want to get into communism, it's more complicated, but I would say communism is generally fine. But socialism is the most like offering somebody a pepperoni pizza with like olives on it when all they've had is pepperoni pizza and being like, oh, disgusting. Like, it's that kind of fucking reaction from what this now? Like, it's so stupid.
Well,
But
it's been a week.
it's been a week. That's for
Just
goddamn
another
sure.
week in the US of A. Yay.
But let me move into the second half of my snack corner. I was handed this by my roommate. I don't want to spill stuff. Oh, nice snack you got over there. This is apple pie
Oh,
Kit Kats.
I, my immediate reaction to that is ooh,
Yeah,
but
I'm
you
not so
can.
sure about it. They're also they
Okay.
melted and then got frozen and are now room temperature, so they look weird. So I'll be trying that for the first time. I will also be trying this for the first time, which is uh,
Ooh,
I should have had this when I finished Harry Potter, but
butterbeer.
it is a non-infringing butterbeer. It's non-alcoholic, so it might have to become alcoholic. But I'm gonna try it raw first,
Okay, I'm curious.
as
I
is.
have been to a couple of high school parties in which I was served butterbeer, but I think it was what did they do? I can't even remember what the ingredients really were.
That's pretty good. Let me make this more appropriate. I'll grab some things.
Okay. I will.
Introduce everybody to your Dakimakura.
This is my anime pillow. Her name is Haruhi Suzumiya, and she is the star of the anime The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. It's very good. Highly recommend. I think it's the first anime that I watched. I liked it a lot. That's why I have a body pillow of it. That I actually didn't buy. I would like everyone to know that. It was bought for me. It was purchased for me for a birthday. And I did not request it. I feel like that's important to mention as well. I didn't ask for it, but it's here, and I'm not upset about it. I think it adds something to the room, to the decor. It's pretty comfy. Squishy. Hello.
How's your pillow doing?
She's alright, I think. Fine.
I think the only thing I have that's appropriate is what I'm drinking water out of, so I'm gonna just use this.
Oh yeah, I think it's important that the butterbeer goes inside of that glass.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's better.
Much better.
Much more appropriate. The flavor is pretty good, but I do think the flavor could be improved.
Mm.
That should improve it. I spent the entire morning up until about an hour before the podcast. Nice. With a crippling headache. So this seems like exactly the right way to handle that.
This is what you need to cure your headache.
Yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, this should have been done right after I finished the Harry Potter series finally. But I didn't think about it, and then I found it, and I was like, that's perfect. So, to that
I don't have anything.
transphobic dipshit, thank you.
Yay.
Exactly. Yay.
Yay. I, as my homework assignment, need to finish the Twilight series. I think what I'll do, because I think they're all on Amazon Prime, I think what
Oh,
I'll do
yeah.
is watch them all in succession in one day if I can
Oh,
manage.
yeah.
And then I will come up with some sort of Twilight themed cocktail, which I'm sure will be
Fantastic.
horrific, but
I
I'll
look
think of
forward to
something.
that. Let's make it a cocktail. I don't know. A marshmallow seems like it adds a certain amount of whimsy that maybe a wizard would.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Is it what kind of marshmallow is it?
Just a regular ass marshmallow. Just a big,
Okay. Well,
nasty marshmallow.
if you didn't have alcohol in it already, I would say you should microwave it to get that marshmallow foam going.
I mean, I could bring it to room temperature, but I don't think it's gonna do much.
Mm.
Um, if I heat it up too much, it's gonna be hot butter soda, and as much as
You
I
say
like
this
hurting
as if there's
myself,
something wrong. That sounds pretty good. I've been craving a hot buttered rum has sounded good for a very long time because
it
I don't know if you
is good.
can tell by the pumpkin spice of it all, but I'm very ready for summer to be over.
Oh yeah. Fuck summer. Summer can
I
eat
would,
my ass.
yeah, I agree. I really need things to feel like they're moving
Yeah.
or progressing, even if it's just the weather. I think that would help my um, mental state. And I also just fall is the best time of year objectively, I feel like. So
As much as I like certain things about summer, I think it's the worst season.
I
I
think it's
like
a rated season for sure.
I like fall, I like winter, I like spring, and I like summer basically in order. Like I think fall is the best, winter is the second, spring is I like rain and I like flowers a lot. Summer is kind of just spring but like less comfortable. And I'm really not about that. Fall has always been the prettiest and has the best
Mhm.
food. Everything about it's just better, and it's still warm usually for a lot of fall. So like
Yeah,
it's got something for everybody.
yeah. Fall in Kirkland was really pretty. It was
Yeah.
very nice. I very much enjoyed fall when I was in Seattle.
Yeah.
That was a good time. Um, yeah. Hopefully by the time it's like looking like fall, I'll have an idea of well, I probably won't. I'll have an idea of where we'll be moving next so I can start
Hmm.
thinking about what fall will be like in that location, but I
Yeah.
don't think I'll know.
It's important to think about summer too, though, because summer can be a real shit in certain places, and you
That's
don't want to do that.
that's Evan's like number one concern is he doesn't like being too hot. He's
Yeah,
a an
being too hot
Alaskan
fucking
child.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. Being too hot is the worst. And also, he works on computers, so like it doesn't matter how cold it is. You're always kind of warm no matter what.
Yeah. I'm not I don't mind it being chilly. So actually I think I enjoy more cool weather and then just mild summers. I think
Yeah,
I'm more okay with it being a little colder than too hot. I
my
think that's
ideal would be living in the woods, having it rain 50% of the time, just constantly raining,
yeah.
and having it be in the middle of winter, like 20 degrees, and the middle of summer, like 80, and having it like stay more around 60 the rest of the time. That's
Hmm.
comfortable to me, at least.
Yeah. I think I would need a little bit warmer than 60. Maybe
Well,
65.
that's usually the reason why in the past when it was cooler in this area, I still had my windows open all the time. Now
Mm.
I have to close windows, which I hate because it's so hot that if I leave the windows open, it's unbearable. Uh,
Yeah.
that's that's a much worse way to live, but that's sort of what's required now with all that fake global warming and everything. Um,
Yeah, I don't like how summer has turned summer and the pandemic has turned my apartment into kind of a depression den because I have to keep all of the windows closed and the blinds closed, or else it just becomes like a small terrarium inside. It's terrible. Yeah, I just melt all day long. But
yeah, I don't know. I've enjoyed uh, I've not enjoyed aspects that have changed with COVID, but the time in this apartment, I don't have any regrets about that. Like that's been just fine with me. But I also, you've seen my place, the openness and the shape of it, even though it's not very big, is very pleasant. Like
yeah,
uh,
it
it's
is
sort of
nice.
a big cube with a little tiny hallway with two rooms off the side, and it's just the right amount of space to be like, I don't feel closed in. Uh, an entire side of this apartment and the main room is windows, which if it weren't, I would probably
Hmm.
feel much worse. But like, I'm kind of just under a big tree most of the day, and that's fine with me. Uh,
Yeah,
our
I'm
internet
jealous
could
of
be
that.
better. Our fucking on sick internet topics, our internet drops out like once a day. It's just when, and that fucking sucks. But I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just kind of how things go.
Yeah. Ours is, it's been really bad lately. I think just because we're both on it now that he's back, and I'm constantly downloading things for work and not helping the situation, and he's constantly zooming. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
not the
shitty.
easiest. I think having spans of alone time and spans of time with my roommate here helps a lot because in the times when I'm alone, I watch like, art webinars and shit like that in the time that I have that's not structured for something else. I
Mm.
do honestly think that people talk about like how this is ruining our economy, and it is, but I think that the real issue is that companies are learning from this that they don't actually have to give us any space. Like they can invade what we do 24/7 and we'll put up with it if we have to. And being a nation of people who are not only expected to work more but be on call is a pretty terrible future that is another reason why we need to vote
Yeah.
against Donald Trump, because that shit is not going to change for the better with him in, and it might at least stagnate or be something we can fight against with uh, the Democrats in.
Yeah. I mean, working from home sounds like it would be fun. And
Yeah.
not in this context, obviously, but sounds like a fun thing to do. But it really is just teaching companies that they can um, take advantage of you at all times, and
Mm-hmm.
like you said, kind of invade your space. And I want to tell people to like set your boundaries, but I mean, it's to some degree you don't really have control over it in all. I mean, depending on your job. If you're a freelancer like me, you can tell people to fuck off, and you can do that, but like it you'll have less money.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it's the same for other people. You don't always have control over what boundaries you can afford to set with your jobs. How are you doing over there? What is in your what what did you put in your mouth?
Apple pie Kit Kat.
Oh, okay. It sounds like or it looks like you're really enjoying
Woo!
it. Mm.
It tastes like an apple nerd or an apple runt or something.
Ew.
Uh, and a wafer cookie, but the two flavors don't mix.
No, that's awful. If you're gonna have an
Yeah.
apple flavor, it needs to be more of a cinnamon, like baked apple flavor than like a actual fruity, hard candy, green apple sort of flavor.
Uh, is this one of the Japanese ones? I feel like they did me dirty with this thing.
It kind of, by your
No,
facial expressions, seems like.
no, this is just a good old American apple pie. Yeah, I was gonna say most of the
Yuck.
Japanese flavors are a little better than that. Uh, I, uh, you kind of have an idea of how I've spent my work life a little bit. I've worked from home as much as I've worked in jobs pretty much my entire adult life. And I loved it, even though the work I do is like essentially self training and getting some money, but mostly experience. Um,
Yeah.
because, well, and you've gone and like seen how hackneyed some of those like gallery things are, that one that you helped with, where it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, put stuff up, I guess. It's like, cool. I've been in good galleries and stuff, but some of that you just kind of take what you get, and um, that's been great because I can get a little extra money once in a while, but I'm always working on something that I care about, and I can keep a job for part-time or like low hour full-time, like the 32-hour-ish range, and it's fine. The thing that I loved about it, though, is that I had a job where I had to deal with coworkers, which I generally am fine with, because when that job's done, any kind of job I took or could take had a severe, like, we will not talk to you outside of work. And I loved it because I could choose the people that I wanted to talk to, and I did not have to worry about work unless I was in the office. And then I could
Mm-hmm.
focus on my work, and my work was solo unless I was working with a gallery or a group, and I got to choose that stuff. So my time was partitioned into things that I had some control over, and then because of that work schedule, I could give my friends a schedule of like, well, if you want to do something, I'm available like these 2 days of the week during these hours. And if you want to do something, that's great. Or I could set up parties once in a while. I like that lifestyle a lot. COVID played very well into my ability to do my own shit, and that's fine. However, it destroyed work, my work, and friends like being on a schedule entirely. So like
Yeah.
uh my friends now, partially due to anxiety and partially due to like everybody knows that you're technically at home. They don't really care what you're doing uh, as much. Like I don't mean that to be like antagonistic. It's just like I already have issues with like saying no. That's why I make schedules. So like now I'm on call 24/7 for friends. I'm on call 24/7 for work, and I'm on call 24/7 for like just people knowing that I'm home. So if something happens, well, you're at home, right? So it's not a big deal. So like family calls will be like whenever. Important messages will come sometimes at like 2 in the morning, where it's just like this doesn't work for me. And I don't think it works for anybody, but as somebody who I feel would be pretty equipped for this, even I'm being like thrown into the grinder when it comes to my own time. So like
Mm-hmm.
sure, I get like a third of the hours I would normally get. I have no money. I'm like technically I should have like free time where I'm like trying to figure out ways to get more money. And instead I have like people just sort of like inferring themselves into that time from any number of places and acting like, well, but it's just me wanting some time. And it's like, I get that. 30 versions of that of my life. I can't do this forever. At a certain point, like you you being me in this case, at a certain point, I have to just stop dealing with people as much as I do. And that is like socially destructive in a lot of ways. Like that could lose me my job if I do it the wrong way, or that could uh, take me away from like the things that I give a shit about accomplishing in my life. So the only place I can start separating is from my friend groups. And like I already have like 3 or 4 sets of people that I'm kind of balancing at all times anyway, and I care about sets of those people at all times. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's rough on me, just as like there is no privacy anymore. Like the only privacy I get now is time that I take for like going on walks where I have like airplane mode set on my phone or something. Uh, and that's still me putting up stuff. That's not me like taking time. That's me being like, oh, there's nobody around. Like I shouldn't have to be in the dark at 2 in the morning outside where nobody's awake to feel like I have privacy anymore. Like that is a bad direction for uh, people's lives to go in if we want to avoid the like cyber dystopia of the future that people on the right seem to think we need.
Yeah.
I
That's
can't even tell if that was on topic anymore. That's just something I've been thinking about an awful lot.
Yeah, I mean, I was considering this being one of my topics, but the last couple of weeks have been insanely busy work-wise, and I'm super glad to have the work, of course, but at the same time, it is very overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I definitely do have clients that have kind of that approach to it. Like I've had a couple of people in instances like we're trying to set up a meeting or something, and I'll be like, okay, well here are the days that I'm available and here are my hours. And then a comment will be made like, oh, well, what about like Saturday? Because, days don't matter anymore. And I'm
Yep.
like, actually, nope, they matter a lot. And those are the only
Yeah.
2 days that I keep sacred anymore. And like, I feel like it's really accelerating any burnout that I was experiencing.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I really do like my job, but at the same time, it's a lot. And especially it just being me and having to constantly set those boundaries and um, sometimes lose out on work because of them, like, really sucks.
Well,
But
I have good news. Because of the fear of not being able to even afford to live, you get to just deal with it. Just like everybody else. It fucking sucks. That's
uh-huh.
like I work a job that is very specifically something I have never taken home. I've never taken stuff home. I've never like done anything except recreationally talk about what I'm doing outside of work because like that just isn't how I live. And
Yeah.
last week working a 12-hour day at home through all night into the morning, that was just something I had to do. And if I didn't, then I would have not gotten my work done. And
Hmm.
expectation on that was given by both the people needing that project and my company. And like, I mean, we're a company of what, like 5 people now, but still, it's just like that can't be the way that we operate forever. I can do an overnight shift once in a while, but like not forever either. Like if my boss was expected to do that same thing, that would be a huge problem. And I think that that's sort of the direction we're headed is doing a lot of things
Hmm.
that our respective bosses don't necessarily think about because like, well, clearly the people who work for me only have as interesting a life as I do, so like they're not doing anything when they're not here. Um
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
That's maybe a little shittier than I mean it to sound, but it is that feeling of like it's hard to comprehend that other people live lives that take up time when you see what they do for work. Because a lot of people, especially boomers and older, look at what you do for work and assume, well, then you're not doing anything outside of work. And that has always sucked. None of my
hmm.
life has been ever get off work and relax. I've never had that in my life. And the idea of that being like the way I can live just as a really makes me angry sometimes. It's like when I went to
Yeah.
that funeral and I got back to work and everybody was like, "How's your vacation?" It's that feeling every time of just like, I was at a funeral. Like, what is your problem?
uh,
I've
yeah.
been on
Yeah.
one vacation and it was great.
Mm, yeah. I feel like I need to start planning a vacation, even if it's just not real.
Yes.
Um, just to like,
Staycations are the cheapest. If you can go, even if you find like a cheap place that is clean and not where you live to stay for a week and like see some other stuff, it's so worth it. Um,
hmm.
like that's what I would have been doing with my vacation, but it turned into something where, because of my roommate being extremely generous, I just got to go on a vacation. But like, I I can't stress enough how great it is to take a week where you literally just say, like, I'm not going to talk to anybody even. Like, I'm just going to do things I care about and just completely cut off everything else.
Yeah, that sounds I'm a big fan of that too. Evan and I actually locked ourselves out of our apartment like a month ago.
Hmm.
Um and my first reaction actually was like, I don't have to do any work. Like my computer's in the apartment. Like I was so excited. I was just like, we should go to this like really shitty motel and just like grab some beer and like watch TV and do nothing. And I was like so excited about that. And we were strongly considering doing that, but then we got a locksmith to like come let us in. But I was like, that would be so fun. Staycations are
Honestly,
fun, even if there's something stupid like staying in a dumb motel.
motels often have like a TV in them, and I don't have like television, so it's still like
Yeah, me
interesting.
neither. Yeah, it's always fun to watch like stupid I feel like they always have weird history channel shows on about
When
like people digging up artifacts of from Roanoke or something like
Yeah,
that.
I went for a week and I went for a night, right? It must have been 2 nights. It must have been a day there and then a day and then a day back. But I went for like a weekend trip before COVID stuff with my biological mom and my sister and my sister's boyfriend. And we went to Leavenworth, and I was thinking on the way up, like, we should have a day here. It might have just been overnight and then leaving in the evening. I really can't remember. But in any case, we should have a day here of like doing stuff. So we'll probably like walk around a lot and then like hang out, like go to some places, and then like, I'll probably see like the way I do most vacations,
Mhm.
the way I do most like outside of home living, I guess. Not really vacations, but when I go somewhere with people in general, whether I'm staying at somebody's house or on the rare occasion that I have been to like hotels in my adult life, it's always like you go there and you just kind of sleep, get up, and then leave again. And the different thing about this trip is that I woke. Wait, no, it wasn't when I woke. When we got there, we hung out for a few hours and then we went to dinner, like between walking around, which I hadn't expected. And for like 3 hours, we just watched this stupid ass History Channel show
Yeah.
where people would make a sword, and that's it. They would make a
Oh,
sword,
I've seen that
yeah, and
one.
then they would like hit stuff with it, and then they would like take one of the four people out, and three people would like make the next part of the sword, and they'd hit stuff with it, and then they'd do two, and then there'd be a winner of like, we like your sword. And like, that shit is incredibly stupid, and I love the chance to just sit and like not worry about anything else. Like, even when I was watching the fucking Harry Potter stuff, it was like, I got to pay attention to this. It's something that I'm doing for a reason. But like, having something on that's just like, if I fell asleep for 20 minutes, I wouldn't give a shit. Like, this does not matter. Uh,
Yeah.
Having even just a night of that feeling can be like incredibly freeing when it comes to how you're doing.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of History Channel uh binge watching in hotel rooms.
Yeah, and the monsters. The monsters in a hotel room is a good match.
I
Some
don't
old
think
ass
I've seen that.
TV show. Monsters is you know what Adam's Family is, right?
Mm.
Uh Adam's Family is like the on-brand version of the Munsters. The Munsters felt like if you got a version of the Addams Family from like some like Malaysian company that was like, we wanted to make a not impeding like copyright that we could also market, but it's not the Addams Family, and it was, I think it's a regular like girl, and then like a Wolfman boy, a Frankenstein dad. Uh, the mom is, I don't remember. She might be normal too, or she might be something else. Uh, and then I think both shows might have had like a crazy grandpa even. I think there's a crazy grandpa monster as well. Like it's a not quite Addams Family, but it's more of a like 60s-esque sitcom.
Okay.
So it feels like a weird mishmash of like not as offensive as something like the Honeymooners, but like more like a I Love Lucy style of comedy, but with like my
Mm.
dad's a Frankenstein, and they're like instead of being in like a mansion and rich, I think they're in like a more like workaday style living environment, but their house is, or their family name is the Munsters, which is also just the most like dumb idea, but it works perfectly. And I think some channels that exist still do like a overnight Halloween marathon of the Munsters
Oh, that's awesome.
for viewing action.
That is probably one thing that I do miss about having a TV is those like dumb marathons of shows, which I guess
Yeah,
are you can do that now with Netflix, but it's not as fun unless unless it's being served to you.
right. Like I'll still consider watching a James Bond movie, but I'll like put it off until like sometime when I have like, I don't know, a reasonable belief that I can eat and sit and watch it for like a full hour and a half or 2 hours. So it happens like a year after I say I will. I've been meaning to watch like one of the more recent James Bond movies since it came out like 2 years ago, and I just haven't.
Mm.
And it's available. We have services that have it on it, and it's just like, I want to watch this, but I need to work on this, like that kind of bullshit. Um, but the
Yeah.
James Bond marathon, I would always just have it on, and just like, oh hey, I think I know what movie this is, but like you're not controlling it, so you don't feel as much need to like pay attention, which is nice.
Yeah.
Uh, same
Yeah.
with same with the Munsters. Same with when they do the Christmas like claymation like stuff. All of those are much better when they're just served to you as like a thing. Except
Yeah.
except Lifetime movies. Those you don't have to ever pay attention to. So like Christmas Lifetime movies on Netflix and stuff are perfect because you can do whatever you want and have it on, and it's perfect for that. Like that actually is the answer to having TV serve stuff up because it's such trash that you can just kind of be like, that's fine. This can exist like this.
Yeah, I do enjoy those types of movies being available on Netflix just to kind of like self-torture with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like being served them. I don't think I've actually ever sat and watched a Lifetime movie for that reason.
I think the last time that I had the opportunity to was like 2007 or 8. Long ass time ago. And at the time, for whatever reason, um, uh, there was like a TV that got TV. I don't remember why, but I would watch it while I was like working on other stuff and like cleaning or doing stuff, and it would just be on. It like total housewife style of like it's the weekend or it's the evening, and Lifetime channel is just serving up movies, and like I didn't drink enough wine for it to be quite right, but it definitely got close to the American white girl dream.
Speaking of the white girl, American white girl dream, I need to take a quick bathroom break because I have just had
Ooh.
a large PSL and a rosé, so I'm gonna do that.
Did you say DSL?
Nope, nope, nope.
All right. Well,
That's a different podcast.
I'm gonna see about checking the tune on this harmonica.
Okay, I shall return shortly.
Never learned how to play this very well, but it's nice. So Madison left, and she also muted her microphone, which could just be to avoid like room noise and stuff like that. But I'd like to think that she's peeing so loudly that she's afraid we would be able to hear it if she was here. Don't tell her that, but I have a suspicion that there's something horrible going on in the bathroom. I think this is haunted. I think this might actually be a haunted harmonica. Yeah, for sure. Really, it is a beautiful instrument if you think about it. I wonder. So when I was gone and Madison talked about her body pillow, did she say anything weird? I feel like she would. I don't know why you would have a body pillow unless you were doing something untoward with it.
I feel like it got
And
so much darker in here just in the last couple of minutes.
yeah, you can see it creeping in on the sides of your webcam for sure. You look like you're in one of those American Apparel photo shoots where you're not sure if somebody's in danger or not.
Like that.
Yeah,
Those are my
but
American
they're
Apparel lights.
but they're wearing like a sequined like jacket and nothing else. Yeah. The gun's out of frame.
Oh. I'm ready for my photo shoot now. Now that I have special guest
What's her name again?
Haruhi Suzumiya.
Okay.
She's from The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya.
I've been continuing to watch the like big titty anime comedy show. It's pretty good. I've enjoyed it. It's definitely like a I kind of appreciate it's a will they won't they romance, but there's no question as to will they. It's just sort of a like it's still just a story about other people watching them and finding it really funny that they are as dumb as they are about everything. So
I
that's
like
been
that.
pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's about the level of thinking I want in something. I made the mistake of watching it too early when it came out on Friday because it comes out at like 6 in the morning. And I watched it like maybe a half hour after it came out. And I feel like I need to have like a coffee and breakfast and like really be awake before I watch it. So hopefully I remember to do that next time. Um, but I also don't want to watch it like right before I do something because I always get that. Like, if I'm gonna take the time to watch something, I would like it to be like maybe a half hour on each side when I'm not
Leisure
having to
time.
worry about anything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That makes
so
sense.
I want to make a better note of that next time. But it's still good. It's still very dumb. Uh, and they're getting to the point now where I think they're focusing less on the big titty part of it.
Hmm.
But I've heard tale that it's a red herring and that there's actually in an episode or two, there's going to be an entire family of big titty anime people that show up because you're going to meet the families of the two main characters. So that is an amusing sounding episode to me.
That sounds good. That does sound like a fun episode.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's very lowbrow, but it's not so lowbrow that it's like, I don't know, offensively so. It feels very even-handed in the way that it is dumb.
Mm. Yeah, I have a hard time finding animes that I feel are the right balance of dumb. Evan's been watching one called Rent a Girlfriend,
I haven't seen
and
that.
I watched a couple of episodes of it, and I think it's a little too dumb. It's
You
a little too
should,
dumb.
if you want an anime that's actually just good, you should watch BNA on Netflix.
Okay. I've had that recommended to me before.
Yeah.
I I have to be in the right headspace for anime, and I just haven't like wanted it for a while.
I
Probably because
tend
I've been watching
to,
K-drama.
yeah.
Yeah,
I honestly am usually in the mood for it once a week, so things that are simulcast and
that
show
makes
up
sense.
once a week is perfect. I can take 30 minutes and be like, huh, I remember this. And
Mm,
then that's enough.
yeah.
Most of the stuff I watch, honestly, is not watching stuff and just having like something on YouTube on or something, which
Mm.
works out. I've been having a lot of like interior of a cabin while it's raining outside 10-hour videos on and stuff. That's like been my
Ooh.
TV. And we have that large TV of my roommates in this room. So I'll like, it's essentially a nicer version of having like a virtual fireplace or something. And then I can work while that's on and I'm not missing anything. I have one that's like a 10-hour loop, or it's not a loop. I think things in it loop, but it's a 10-hour video of like the interior of a Twin Peaks diner with like audio.
Ooh.
Uh,
That's fun.
Stuff like that is basically my television for the week.
Mm. I've been watching a lot of like Twitch streams lately, which I mean, take from that what you will. But
I've been doing some Twitch streams lately.
yeah, how did that go?
Pretty good. I did that one Twitch stream on Friday, and now we have 3 people in the Minecraft server. So it clearly
Oh,
my Minecraft propaganda worked. uh, so that's been pretty good.
that's
Um,
good. I still plan on joining. I've been saying that for a few weeks, but I do truly plan on joining.
I mean,
My
I don't plan on getting rid of the server anytime soon, so there's not really a time limit on joining. Um, it's I've played Minecraft intermittently since when it came out, or close to it. Because like the first version I bought of it was when it was still pay what you want. So like the first
Mhm.
version of it I got was like $4 or something. And the first time I've actually bought it for like at cost was when I bought it a couple weeks ago to do again. So I don't have any old like experienced spaces to like put forward for people, but I like the idea of people just kind of learning about it. If you haven't played Minecraft, that's the fun part. It's sort of I'm discovering more and more it's a pretty solid mixture of Harvest Moon, Skyrim in a weird way, and
Mm-hmm.
like a Lego set. It's kind of those three things mixed together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good way to describe it. My favorite part of Minecraft when I did play it was oh, I just remembered.
You
I just
having some
remembered
weird chemical
some
memories?
yeah, some like Minecraft flashbacks. I my favorite part of Minecraft was always like finding a mountain and just like mining my way through it to find the lava and shit inside
Yeah.
of it. That was my favorite part, but the weird flashback that I just had was I think in like 7th or 8th grade I was part of a like Hunger Games themed server
Okay.
and I don't remember a lot about it, but I do remember that someone had actually gone to the effort of like building out the geography of one of the arenas from one of the books. So there was like the
Jesus.
cornucopia.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about it until this second, but I think I played that a lot.
That's
So
interesting. Uh,
that's
I don't
pretty
know.
cool.
I'm such a vanilla Minecraft person. I every time I've started a game, I spend like probably 10 hours of time in like the beginning, just sort of like not even mining, just like setting up like plots. It's a
Yeah.
fantasy of owning land, basically, of just like I'm gonna flatten this out a little bit, build a foundation, build a house. That'll be nice. That's something I would do. Like it's and then like I'm gonna build a fence, maybe go find a cat, tame it, put it somewhere around here. It's just like you know the fantasy of the American dream, except it's real.
Mhm. Yeah. I had someone on the phone that reminds me. I was on the phone with a family member the other day, and I was telling them how um, busy slash stressed out I was because I had a lot of work
Mhm.
going on, and then they told me that that was the American dream.
The a lot of work
Yep.
part. Cool. The American dream
Yep.
sucks.
That's what I dreamed of.
uh, I have an actual small real topic that I was made aware of by a friend in Korea from Australia, but um, apparently South Korea is looking at um, mitigating, and this is like the actual way that I think you could uh, competently hold people accountable and also be very fair about how you deal with things like coronavirus response. Um, there's like, I guess, like four churches or church systems that knowingly contributed to South Korea's like main outbreak.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Uh,
remember
and
you talking about that.
and South Korea is now looking at directly charging those institutions for damages to help with the coronavirus uh, response. Which I think like the one of the bigger churches, the charge was like 5.5 million, which is like not that much for what they should be like responsible for, but in terms of like uh, something you could actually do in places like the U.S., that could actually work pretty well. Like places that have money, like actually investigate how Amazon's practices have been and how many people have gotten sick and what that's cost the country based on their actions. And even if you want to be very like business about it, you could still do the right thing and make them deal monetarily with what they did to the rest of us. I think that would be appropriate. The part that sucks is that would also imply us charging like the president and a bunch of people that are in that realm a bunch of money, and I think that would be entirely fair, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, probably not.
It now looks mildly like you're in a horror movie, which I enjoy.
I tried scooching closer to the window so I could get like some sort of light, but it's really not.
Here,
working.
maybe I can get light from the screen onto you.
Just get really close.
There we go.
Usually I have like in my normal setup, well, not my normal setup for a podcast. Oh, this is
Hey,
now you.
What did you want to talk about?
I wonder if maybe. It's horrible.
Did you turn the brightness up? What was that? Oh, is that your phone?
Oh,
yeah.
Whoa.
Phone flashlights are a nightmare.
I just look very shiny.
Yeah. Hey!
This is a podcast.
Is this how podcasts?
I think so.
Now?
This is a really great audio medium.
Can you hear the discomfort?
I mean, slightly better. I'll just leave it like that until it's kind of blinding my eye. But
yeah.
I feel like I'm asleep or something.
You should, at some point, I mean, one thing is this microphone I have for you, I intend to send along with some other stuff in a few weeks with stuff I said I was going to send. But you should look online maybe and see if there's an easy like laptop light or something that you can use. That might help out. I'll have to do that eventually because
like turn on. They're just very yellow. I don't like to use them. But normally it wouldn't be a problem. I would just be in the living room. But there's school being conducted.
Yeah, there's other business taking place.
There's a student in our midst.
You have that schoolboy fetish I've heard so much about.
Oh, yeah. I like to make him put on a little uniform.
I don't want to wear the short shorts to my Zoom call. Do
it! I'm the breadwinner now. I get to make the call.
Last time I checked, I'm the breadwinner, and you have to look sexy for mommy.
Or I won't try school anymore. Evan actually does some in-person classes. Strangely enough, he does. They're like mandating masks and stuff, but his school has done a really odd thing where they like decided the first part of the semester is going to be kind of a hybrid, depending on the class, either online or in person. But after fall break, everything's just going to be online because they don't want people traveling to their families and then coming back.
Yeah,
which makes
a lot of sense.
Like, why have them come in the first place if they're just gonna go back home?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there is maybe a benefit to like meeting and personally feeling some responsibility in that space, but I don't know how effective that really is.
It just seems really inconvenient for people who like maybe can't afford dorm housing
Mm-hmm.
and are doing something else, and like maybe they have a lease signed, or I don't know, whatever their situation might be. That's kind of shitty. And also the conspiracy theorist in me thinks that they are doing that because it's a college town and a lot of the economy depends on college kids being here.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
So I feel like that is taken into account as well. But
It feels like an excuse to get them to still be there and need services, but then mitigating the illness that comes from it. Because,
or at
like,
least not have them on campus so you're not really
right.
responsible anymore. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like
I
that's part of it.
I feel like that honestly is probably not too far off. At least it's not fucking if you're from outside of the country, we're gonna deport you territory, but you
Yeah.
definitely live in one of the areas that would try that shit. Not that the whole
Uh-huh.
country didn't already try that shit, but if somebody was gonna hold on to it, that's one of the places that would.
That would be us probably.
Yeah.
I read a really fun article today about I one of the newspapers here, the bigger newspapers here, did a sort of deep dive, I guess. You didn't have to dive real deep to find this information, but they looked up some of our like state representatives and our lieutenant governor
Mm.
and people in
Mm-hmm.
government, and like how closely tied they are to local militia groups,
We
and like quite
we don't think
surprising.
these people are quite on the level. It may surprise you. Uh,
surprising like all of the stuff that they were citing was totally just public. Like a lot of the state representatives have liked on Facebook, like militia groups,
mm-hmm.
and groups who are I can't remember. I think there's one of them was America Readout Movement. The other one was the Three Percenters.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
yeah, really neat individuals.
I
Um,
just not long ago had a short conversation with a 3%er about what was acceptable violence, and it is what
oh,
you would
cool.
expect from them. It's everything that isn't against white people.
Nice. I mean, that sounds about right. But yeah, these journalists had just put together a list of the people in government who had some real close ties to these people, and unsurprisingly, a lot of them were from Coeur d'Alene. Um,
Yeah.
so that's really cool. There's also a photo of our lieutenant governor, or maybe previous lieutenant governor now, posing with a couple of guys in. They were in like a prison, like an orange prison jumpsuit, and they were both
Okay.
doing the OK symbol,
Yeah.
and they were like they were like, oh no, don't worry, it's not like racist, it's for the three
Oh,
percenters.
yeah. It's not like that.
It's not like that, it's just very similar. um so that was really neat. That's now been deleted from Facebook, but it exists
Weird.
somewhere.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because for some reason, fucking white supremacists think the Wayback Machine and shit like that don't exist. Because
I mean, and to
they're
some degree it
idiots.
doesn't matter if it does or not because they just
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah.
And if you don't operate in reality, there's really no accountability.
Yeah. When
Did you
you
just
believe in.
I just heard
Is
a very
everything all right?
loud
um,
happening.
when you can believe in QAnon shit, you can kind of imagine anything. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, uh I forgot to mention this earlier, but I'll uh really clumsily tie it in now. In the RNC thing, I can't remember who was saying this, but there was one guy that they had on to talk about the coronavirus, and he
Yeah.
basically referred to it all in the past tense. Like
Oh yeah.
that was such a hard time in our history. The the struggles were had by all. Like
That's the exact same guy who um, it's not Mnuchin, it's another one of the like advisor people, but it's the same guy
Yeah.
who said that people are doing fine. Like 2 months
Yeah.
ago, they're like, well, no, everybody's fine. Like you don't have to worry about like money because we have statistics. Everybody's fine. Uh, when clearly everybody is everybody who is middle class or above and white, and not a huge chunk of the nation that isn't. And
Hmm.
especially when we're at like, what is it, like 20 percentage ish, 20% ish, like people who are getting fucked on their job, uh, and unemployment is like the highest it's ever been. Oh,
Well, like, good thing that doesn't matter because the stonks are up.
God, I love stonks, and the like 8 to 10% of us that benefit anything from any of that. God, they love it. God, they love those
I love
stonks.
it.
I was
Uh,
looking the other day on the internet, and the stonks looked like this, so that's pretty good.
so I
Uh,
think we're in for a good time.
when the
Everybody.
stonks do this, you know it's good.
Yeah. I think we've solved it.
Oh. I think we've solved it too.
I think so. I'm hearing lots of crashing outside the door and I'm kind of scared.
That's
What is
okay.
that?
We should probably wind down anyway. We're coming up time limit. And I don't want you to, miss the action, whatever it is that's happening in
And
your home.
I think he's trying to do dishes.
Oh, that's not good.
It's loud. That's for sure. Oh.
Well, I don't think I have any other missed things on here. Uh, I know there's more stuff to talk about, but that's what this week has been, and talking about all of it is a dumb idea. Don't shoot people. That's something I'd like to say. Uh, and
Being uncomfortable is not an excuse to shoot people or them
right,
destroying your property.
if somebody, let's say, takes a very big chainsaw, saws your car in half, and you now have debt from that car, but not a car, um, you still can't kill anybody. That's not okay. You didn't have your life ruined, i.e., die. You don't get to kill anybody. Um, and it's
You know how the saying goes.
uh-huh.
An eye for a car.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
what it says.
Uh-huh.
The through line that really shitty churches and stuff have been pushing on what turn the other cheek means. That's not real. You can't just say that turn the other cheek now means I'm going to do worse to you than you did to me, because that's been a thing that's picking up as well. And maybe we shouldn't have violent religious screeds being pushed by Christianity, which essentially gets to run everything in this country anyway. That's not a good idea. So let's try to keep the Jesusing to classic, normal
Jesus classic.
American style Jesus, in which Jesus says, I don't know, be nice to people, and then you like kind of fudge it a little bit. At,
Yeah, but
at
if we
least
could
if it's
return to Jesus light, I would
yeah,
be very grateful.
at least if it's regular stupid Jesus, uh, like
Yeah.
post real Jesus, American Jesus, at least we can get along. Uh,
Mm,
I would be
yeah.
okay with us going back to a socialist Arabic wizard Jesus. I think that would be great, but I don't think people are going to go for that because
That's my
creating
favorite.
creating a way for everybody to eat as the first priority instead of making the one guy really, really rich. That's the kind of Jesus I'm into. But that's not really a Jesus that's accessible anymore. So
Nah. That's too hard.
yeah, that Jesus, too cool. Well,
Yay. Oh, also personal gripe or personal complaint, not really personal at all. Uh People should really stop quoting Martin Luther King totally
yeah.
out of context and not paying attention to the rest of the things that he did and advocated for. Actually, I think I would take it as far as saying, white people, please stop quoting Martin Luther King forever
Yeah.
challenge.
I would be okay with only being allowed to quote the parts where he said we need to afford reparations to people in order to make us a solvent nation again. That would be fine with
Yeah.
me. But
Okay.
that's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
Those are the only ones you're allowed. All the other
Um,
ones, leave them.
I do want to note on that a bunch of laminated Martin Luther King quotes went up around Kirkland, and I think I saw people both tearing those down and tearing down some of the COVID-19 as a hoax stuff that also went up. I tore down the rest of the hoax ones because we are unsafe enough without that garbage. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty concerned about the fact that Martin Luther King quotes that are like very like not intrusively posted, those probably shouldn't be torn down just for like the image of it, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
People also vandalized our Black Lives Matter like what was like a 6 foot tall billboard we had, like a freestanding board that was done by some local artists, but also like sort of a shut up move by the police. It was presented by the police and like the fanciest store in town. Uh, uh,
Nice.
that got vandalized and removed without any imagery of like what happened. So, unfortunately, I suspect it was either worse than they wanted people to see, which is believable, or it was taken down because around the same time they also passed in Kirkland, very covertly, weirdly, uh, a new like plan to it's like a spending plan or something called like the something to the tune of like Black Outreach Plan or something like that. Essentially, they presented it in like the Kirkland forums as this is our plan to solve like our like Black Lives Matter shit. And the plan is police are going to discuss potentially not being responsible for people on drugs. I don't know what that means. Also, that
Okay.
seems like without other plans in place, that means nothing. And then police are going to uh, start up a method of communicating with the Black community or leaders of the Black community to make sure that our tactics are agreeable or some shit. It's just the most like milk toast, like, so you're doing nothing, but you're calling it like the BLM solution. uh, that got passed at the same time as the Black Lives Matter thing got removed. And it just, everything together,
Mm.
that's also when all the COVID hoax stuff went up. And it all just kind of feels like people are trying to pretend like we're done with it. So that's really frustrating. People have been trying very hard because these are very permanent stickers, like industrial style stickers, to remove ones that say both Black Lives Matter in discrete spots, uh, while not messing with other stickers in the same spots that are easily peeled off, that are just like pictures of pugs and shit like that. Like Kirkland street art is pretty whack. The things that are up that are not Black Lives Matter or police defunding, those aren't going anywhere. But they sure are removing the other things. One of them was an incredibly hard to remove, just Black Lives Matter sticker with like hearts, very non-threatening. Somebody somebody removed it, but you can tell by the fact that the back of the sticker didn't remove at all that they had to peel off the little bits of it until it was gone. Like, people are very committed to not recognizing Black Lives Matter. I don't think it's a ton of people, but I think it's enough people to where it needs to be made a much bigger deal of than it is out here, and it's very frustrating. We also have a lot of needlessly rich assholes out here that moved to Kirkland specifically to get away from the city. So, like, it's not surprising on that end either, but those are exactly the people who need to hear this shit. So I don't think any of that stuff's going to stop. I think they're just going to get more and more frustrated, and eventually, hopefully, something actually changes in this country to at least, if my brightest hope for all of the non-Trump election action, we can get not Trump. My hope is that there will at least be something that a new administration says that acknowledges that Black Lives Matter matters. That's like the most hopeful I am about that stuff, because we have to have somebody standing up in politics that is going to be listened to at all. And they're currently trying to remove Kashama Sawant, who has like been a major contributor to like people having a voice in Seattle when it comes to both socialism and Black Lives Matter. I think it was the police funding to like fund like affordable housing in Seattle, and it was like 2/5 of their budget, which was already like extreme, that they were presenting for next term. I think that Mayor Durkin vetoed it. I didn't know that she was able to veto something that already went through city council, but I think that they vetoed that and also started trying to remove Sawant by vote, which is like, so they just don't want any representation for left-leaning people here in Seattle. Like, it's
pretty discouraging.
Yeah, it's I don't think it's gonna work, but they're clearly like not shifted in their view. We've still got a lot of gains. We still got like the Amazon taxing. Like, we still have things from this whole shit show, but I think that they are making a pretty huge mistake by treating it like they can sweep it under the rug when, I mean, if nothing else, things like the CHOP are evidence that there is not a dearth of people who are willing to do like pretty risky stuff to make sure that we don't get shouted down. And there are quite a few like socialist leaning and left leaning people in this area. So I don't think it's a good idea. I think that if they do manage to remove Sawant, she's already one of the heads of like SA in this area. Like she's basically who's reported to in terms of like getting plans together for like how can we, go and try to get something passed when it comes to Amazon. I don't think that changes no matter where she is. Like, she's clearly very devoted to that being her life. And now, if they do kick her out of her position, I have a feeling that they're probably going to be sort of destabilizing the trust that people were already starting to build with the government here. And I'm not really sure what happens after that, but I don't think it's like less protests. I think that's actually
Yeah.
probably what was keeping it as not Portland and Seattle as it was. So we'll see. But I do want to mention that just like a local update. Things are still looking up here despite like all of those things. I have some projects out here that I'm I don't know when I'm gonna have time to like get them fully complete, but there have been progressively more people doing those things out here, and I think that's also going to continue to pick up while they do complete garbage like let's just make it look like we're helping kind of stuff. That cop who brandished a taser like an inch away from that kid's face at the YMCA and also like violently drugged that kid off of a drum set. Uh, he's still like completely, essentially anonymous to everybody. Like people know who he is. Like his face is on those videos, but it's nothing has come from that, and that is also local Kirkland shit. And uh, I'm I'm anxious for people to pick up some steam with some of this stuff because it's after the fucking shootings and stuff of last weekend. I don't think any of this stuff's going to get better for people who are loving the right wing, like pseudo Nazi shit right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's gonna become more, I don't know, calm.
Yeah, usually don't threaten
Definitely not
people
heading that.
with violence and then have them go, oh, I guess
Oh.
I'll be satisfied. That's fine.
Yeah. Not usually how that works out.
Not usually. My light was too blue, and now I look comparably pink.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Your shirt looks very orange now.
Thank you. All right. Well, that's all I have for today. I need to clear out some space so that my roommate can make their dinner because it is 8 o'clock.
Here's some anime toes just for.
Bringing it back to
That's gonna be the thumbnail now.
bringing it back to our wiki feet roots.
Yep.
All right. Well, I don't like the way America is very much. And I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so
Thanks
too.
for being here, Bajabbers.
You got thoughts?